Welcome, everyone, to the Chompcast, the official podcast of Sword Chomp and swordchomp.com. Thank you for downloading or streaming the podcast, taking some time out of your busy life to listen to us. And if you're digging the show, please subscribe, leave us a kind rating, share it with your friends. You can also head on over to patreon.com/swordchomp if you'd like to further our vile cause. But more on that later. Just a few shows to go until Game of the Year. And today, we really have a fun topic of the show. It's character creation. That's right. When you sit down with a game and you just start messing around with all the components and the character creator, like some sort of monster, like something with the body of a walrus.
The body of a walrus.
And
or like I guess a giant buffalo.
No. Let's try this again. Something with the body of a walrus.
And the head of a sea lion?
God damn it, you ruined the whole fucking bit. Should have sent it to Shea. You ruined the goddamn bit.
If it
we're
helps,
trying to do.
there was no bit there. Just so you feel good about yourself, Fish.
Thank you. I do feel good.
We were trying to do the.
I brute forced all possible answers to that, and there was no good outcome.
We're trying to do that office bit where Michael's like a monster with like the body of a walrus or the head of a sea lion or something with the body of an egret or the head of a meerkat or just the head of a monkey with the antlers of a reindeer but the body of a porcupine. That's how it was supposed to go. So, thanks a lot, Fish. Thanks a lot. I did kind of throw that at you last second, though.
Well, we nearly dodged the bullet until he explained the bullet.
There's no dodging a bullet here, my friend. All the bullets. I must explain the entire creation of every bullet. No, we got a fun show today because we're talking character creation with the Sword Chomp community. We got people from the Sword Chomp community to chime in on like what they do when they create a character, and of course we'll discuss it as well because I want to know what you guys do, and this should be a pretty fun one. It's a nice light topic to kind of help close the year out here. But of course we have the usual magic that you'd find on the Chompcast. We have the Game of the Year polls that are in full swing. So we have the first round results for that, the listener polls that we run every Tuesday on the Sword Chomp Instagram. I should say Monday night. And we catch up on a plethora of games as the year closes. Hades, Monster Hunter World, I finished Red Dead, Smash, lots of Smash Brothers talk. Fish and Josh have been smashing all night long. So it's going to be a fun show. It's going to be a good one. No, it's going to be a great one. But let's get to some intros here. The man that you just heard botch my intro. Let me make sure that doesn't happen again. From Texas, the Filipino Johnny Depp.
Howdy ho.
Howdy ho. Fish is here. We're going to do it a little differently this week, Fish. This is going to be like therapy time, okay?
Oh, okay.
So imagine whatever entity you believe in, a great power in the sky, God, the universe, whatever it is. Imagine they've given you the ultimate character creator of life, and you can change one slider on yourself, a physical slider. And now, take it off the table right now. We'll take the dick jokes off the table. You cannot enhance the size of your penis, okay?
Of my penis, okay.
What would you do with the great slider of life?
Oh, everything else, though? Oh, God.
Anything's on the table. One thing, though. It's got to be one thing. One slider.
Oh, my God. The intelligence slider, I would put that and just slide it all the way to the very end where no man's ever been before, and I'd be the smartest person on the planet, and everybody would have to look up to me.
You know what's funny about that is I just said the physical elements of the slider, and you went straight to intelligence. Huh? Guess you really do need.
Yeah, I really do need it. Yeah, I really do need it. I guess.
Physical things. Yeah. Come on.
See, the worst part about that, though, is anytime you're given one slider, you need to ask for like 3 or 4 more. It's just not going to be enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's usually the
just not
second
filling.
menu. That's the second menu, Josh, where you get like after you do the physical slider, then you get that screen like in the old Bioware RPGs where it was like charisma, intelligence, strength, all that stuff. We're not talking about that, Fish. Physical, go. You got 5 seconds. Pick something now.
I pick my ears. I want them to be the biggest ever, and I'm gonna fly around with my ears like Dumbo.
Yeah. That's a noble cause. Just
Thank you.
really stick it to Will Smith.
Yeah, fuck that guy.
Mhm.
And it's funny you actually accidentally stole my answer, Fish, because other than making my penis smaller because it's just causing too much pain right now at its normal size.
What?
I would
it to be an innie?
and any oh god, it's like that video I sent you guys earlier this week. No, like I've always had like I have one really nice ear and I have one ear that's slightly bigger, and my wife didn't even notice it until I pointed it out to her, and then she was like, "Yeah, you do." And it's like I would want like tiny, perfectly symmetrical ears. That's what I would go for.
That's adorable.
Yeah, but that's a different slider though. Symmetricalness, you can't.
It's
ears. There's either tiny ear.
It's
or...
the ear slider. It's the ear slider. Yes,
So-
I would go tiny. They can look like a goddamn horseshoe for all I care. Just make them smaller.
No.
Because horseshoes are notoriously small.
There's two things wrong with your ears, and they're big, and they're not symmetrical. So
The symmetricalness
those are two
doesn't-
physical things you have to pick.
The symmetricalness doesn't bother me that much. I would go with smaller because I got they have these cute little like elf hooks on them, and I'll keep those. I don't mind that. But if they're smaller, no one's gonna really notice. So when I was younger, I used to be self-conscious, and I'd grow a big afro so it would cover my ears, and nobody knew that. So you guys are learning.
That's why. Dear God, I have been wondering about that afro for years.
Me too.
Mm-hmm.
Why did it ever happen?
This is our therapy show, Dr. Phil.
You're the only person I ever saw wearing Jinkos and a fro who was that fucking white. It was amazing.
Well, you haven't come to Montana, Josh. Let me tell you. Anyways, so yeah, that was a nice transition. Fish is here, of course. So we have 2 for ears, which I did not expect. But yeah, thanks for being here, Fish. I'm excited to talk to you later.
Thank you. Yeah, I got that idea actually from the new Dumbo movie that's coming out. You guys see that?
Yeah, I don't give a shit about Dumbo.
Now with less Jim Crow.
I was gonna say, what is this, the
I don't know what
1930s?
that is.
Whoa!
Yeah,
Jesus, Fish. You don't know who Jim
I'm
Crow
excited
is?
for Dumbo.
Should I?
Yeah.
Should I
Yeah.
be? Okay.
It's like middle school
No,
history.
not really. I mean, you're a product of the American school system. So
Just tell him. It's
Come
not
on.
great radio to have fish flounder. Well, it's kind of good radio to have
Actually,
fish floundering around.
This
flounder
would
is
be-
one of
this
the
would be
most
a good-
popular fish.
Flounder is the most popular fish. I'm sorry.
Josh, give him a history lesson.
We should call fish flounder. That could be a good nickname. There could be a nickname there.
From
'Cause
the
he's
Little
always-
Mermaid, yeah.
No, god damn it.
What?
Fine, whatever.
Thank you.
I love how flounder is clearly not even
Not a
related to a flounder.
No,
That's one of my favorite
No.
things about that movie.
it would have been cute if he looked like a flounder with the eyes on the same side of the head.
He
That
did
would've been kinda
flounder a lot.
cool. Yeah,
He
Flounder
did
in
flounder
spirit.
a lot. Yeah.
yeah.
Did a
the
lot of
spirit
flopping.
Mm-hmm.
Lot of flopping. What about you, Shay? You got one slider. Shay's here. Professor Layton, we call him the professor, from Japan, the one and only. You got one slider. What you got?
I would increase the size of my nipples so large that they would cover my chest entirely. They would call me nipple chest.
You know, that's a good idea. Just probably, a little thicker, more protection. Very sensitive, though.
That's true.
Yeah. So you'd be like almost impervious, but even the slightest little flick would really hurt.
Or arouse
That's
you.
an interesting trade-off. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, can you imagine when a
Brave.
date goes
It's
down?
very
they're
brave
kissing
of
on
you.
She goes
Date's
to
like
like
kissing
pat
all
my
over your
chest, say,
chest.
"Hey, thanks for paying for dinner," and I'm like, "Oh, you're welcome."
All of a sudden, your knees just kind of go. Oh.
Wait, now can you describe this a little bit? Now, when you say all nipple, are you talking about like the under part of the nipple?
I would like most of the chest would be areola, and then
Okay.
I'd maybe have about golf ball size actual nipples, so like I could hang stuff on them.
golf ball. I was gonna say Because if you were all nipple, your chest would look sort of like a comb or something, like a soft comb. But instead of the bristles, they're nipples.
I just have
You
two
know what I mean?
nipples, and they're very thick.
Okay.
I can hang things on them.
I've never seen an areola slider in the game like that, but guess that's how you guys are going to play this game. I just got to roll with it. So we have Dumbo ears and Dumbo nipples. So you areola. You want your entire chest to be areola. That's what you're saying. I like how scientific I was. I said the under part of the nipple.
That was not scientific at all.
I know. That's the joke I was making. Thanks for being here, Shea. Joshua Fowler is here from Michigan, of course, the Jimmy Rustler. What about you, Josh? I can only imagine where you're going to take it at this point, but where are you taking the slider?
Let's see. I'd probably max out liver. Just crank that bad boy up.
You just have a regenerating liver. Mm-hmm. So yeah, alcohol will not faze you. Is that a serious concern of yours that at some point you're just going to develop some sort of liver disease or cancer?
No, not really. I really don't drink that much as compared to the Europeans. So, yeah.
It's true. The true standard. Europeans.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we have Dumbo ears, we have a Dumbo areolas, and we have a regenerating liver. So that is to create the perfect Chompcast member. And I, of course, am General Mountain Time here from Montana, and I'm excited. I'm excited for the show. It feels like we're getting my Christmas tree's up. You get that feeling of the season. Game of the year, the last few podcasts. It's cold outside. You got the holiday spirit. It just feels right for gaming. And we're going to carry that rightness into this show. But first, I really want to ask you guys, because I wanted to give this a little attention. A lot of people have been asking about Smash. Smash this, smash that, smash this. I know you and Josh smashed a few hours last night, Fish. And you're sort of a Smash newbie. How are you feeling about your Smash time so far?
I'm enjoying it. Unlocking all the characters is surprisingly fun for me. Like, that's one of the fun things in the game is unlocking new characters and getting to go ahead and play those new characters that you unlock. Though I was upset at the very beginning when I thought, I can't wait to play and pick from all 100 characters, and they give you like 7. And I was so disappointed at that point. I was like, oh, shit.
Yeah, it's like the original game. You start off with 8 again. You're like, what the hell is this? 1998? What the hell?
That's a bold move. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I think you unlock them faster than any other game so far. It's like every 2 matches, one of them will show up. Like, it's faster than any other game I've played in the series for unlocking the
I can't believe you got Cloud so far. I can't believe you got Cloud that fast. Because it's random, right? Unless you're doing the single-player mode, it's just random.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and you can also unlock them through the little campaign that they have as well, which is the World of Light. But from my understanding is you have to actually play through the World of Light multiple times. So if you actually want to unlock all the characters, because there's, I believe, 3 different branching areas that you can go off of, and I believe you can't go back to the other 2 once you pick one path. So
you can unlock the whole thing. It just takes forever. You have to like loop back around. It's a massive, massive map once you finally unlock the whole thing.
Yeah. Your little character just runs from battle to battle, and you get spirits, which is kind of cool. You get different fighting spirits that have like a different type to them. There's like a defensive type, attack type, grapple type, and a neutral. And it's fun. I mean, for a fighting game, like for them to have something like that in the game where you can just jump from battle to battle and have different types of
mini challenges. Soul Calibur, the original
sets,
Soul
yeah.
Calibur was kind of like that. It had like these little. You didn't unlock things really, but it had like these cool little challenges. And one of the things I heard that's really cool about it is that the challenges are really nostalgic. Like they do all these cool things for like longtime Nintendo fans that you'll really notice and appreciate.
Yeah, like basically all the battles have some sort of theme that you're going with. So you'll have like not just challenges, but like really weirdly specific challenges in order to actually, beat the different encounters.
Like, give me an example.
There's 74 heroes, I think, currently. But the spirits that you have are kind of like the trophies in the older games. You just show up for absolutely no reason. They don't do anything. They're just kind of there to look pretty. But they're also kind of your stat thing for the that main campaign is like a kind of like an RPG sort of a thing. You have to go through and collect different things. But anyway, like each one you'll go to will be like controlled by a different spirit, which could be a character that is not one of the playable ones. And so they'll basically set up the encounter as if using those other characters you actually can play as, that you're playing against the other one. So they'll like, drastically increase the speed of something, or have you play against two characters that would normally, just to kind of give you the impression that you're experiencing the other game, is kind of what they're going as, kind of what they're driving at anyway. So,
what do you guys what's your go-to fish as a Smash newbie? Do you have like what's your top two? If everything's on the line and you and Josh are going at it, who are you picking?
I used Little Mac last night, and I really like the speed on Little Mac and his power moves. I did a lot of dashing and a lot of smash moves with him.
Is that proper terminology? Smash moves?
I think so. I'm not sure.
Yeah, they're essentially the heavy attacks in basically another game. They're slow, but they do a ton of knockback compared to everything else. So they're kind of how you actually confirm kills in this game, which is I'm kind of going off the impression that people have played Smash, but let me not do that. Smash is a very different fighting game. In basically every other fighting game, you attack the enemy until their health reaches 0. Standard video game type stuff. But Smash is different because you have to knock the enemy off the screen, is how you actually confirm a kill in this game. And damage increases the amount of knockback that each of your attacks does. So you start at 0% and it goes up from there. And you have to eventually just knock them out of the arena.
So if they're really weak, like they have like 100% damage, they're easier to knock out of the arena.
Yeah, they're easier to knock out.
Can you knock somebody out of the arena if they're at like almost full health? Is it possible?
You can. A lot of it's just kind of where you decide to fight. I laughed so hard the other day when me and Fish were playing this, because 2 times in a row he ran up to me and I grabbed him right at the very edge of the screen because I was already standing there, and just kind of lightly tossed him off the side and killed him.
Yeah, it depends on the levels, definitely, because certain levels, like the screen will move, the whole terrain will move as well. So like a few times Josh caught me where I wasn't paying attention, that the off screen I was
like right next to where I was,
right next to where I was, and they were not very lenient on how far out off screen you could go without getting back. And yeah, Josh
just kind of
abused that.
Nudged him off the screen.
So what's the trick when you're like, because that was the thing that always threw me off. Like whenever someone smashes you and you go flying in the sky and you try to like float your way back to the place so you can grab onto the ledge and not die, you're just kind of just hovering back. Can you like, are you trying to use your character's like boost moves to get over there? Like what's the...
They're all different. The recovery is a big part of a kit in each of the different characters. A lot of them are not super strong characters. Like, for example, Jigglypuff and Kirby are both, puffballs that have tons of jumps. I think both of them have 6 midair jumps. So you can just float your way gently back to the stage after getting knocked around. But a lot of their kit is put into that. So,
like Bowser's a big heavy motherfucker. So how does he get back?
Not well.
Just sink like a rock.
Not well. So yeah, it's kind of you have to play to your own strengths is a big thing in this game. I mean that's in every fighting game, but it's extremely noticeable in this one because there's so much more movement than other fighting games. Most other fighting games, you're kind of confined to a very limited space. Whereas in this one, you have just options all over the place. It's like for as simple as the gameplay seems. Compared to most other fighting games, the options are much wider as far as your actual approach to taking that fight. So,
I actually had a question for you guys. Since there's all these new characters in the game, because they've introduced like a ton of new characters, what's one that you guys haven't really used yet that you want to try out?
Ooh. I think I've played everything at this point, like at least a game, because I tried to hit all of them while I was playing with Fish. But I didn't really play with either of the Castlevania characters. They Simon and Richter Belmont were added in, and they are kind of like a ranged poke sort of a character because they have all the items from those original games. Like you get the cross that you can throw out and it'll spin, and the axe that has the exact same arc trajectory that you've got in every other Castlevania game, and the holy water that just kind of you throw at your feet and makes a bunch of flames. So he's really good at spacing.
I would have thought he'd been like whip heavy.
Well, yeah, you get that for like your smash moves, but a lot of his kit is put into those items, just like in the in the other games, which makes him really. He's hard to approach because he's got so much stuff he can just kind of throw out to get in your way before you get to him. He looks like he's going to be really. Both those characters look like they're going to be really fun, but I've not really played with them that much. I played a couple times against Fish, and I had no idea what I was doing. It was awful. Yeah, he's another one that, because so much of his kit is put into those items, he doesn't have good recovery.
Yeah,
you can get, like, if you get knocked off the stage, getting back is very hard as the Belmonts.
Makes sense.
From the little bit I have played.
That makes sense. How's the new Piranha Plant been? Have you guys played as him yet?
He's a DLC that should be out shortly.
He's not in the game yet.
I wasn't sure if it was out yet or not.
He was
is it free DLC?
It's
paid.
It is the I didn't buy used bonus is essentially what he is. Like if you buy digital, he's kind of essentially automatically added. Or if you buy the regular game, you have like a code or something that you can put in.
Okay.
It's kind of what the Piranha Plant is. And then I think they have like 5 or 6 other characters already planned, and then DLC you can buy. That'll give you all of those. I want to say $20, but I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah.
But none of those are out yet. So
I actually have one other question. Sorry if I'm taking your questions, Morgan. With this, like, because they've made a Super Smash Brothers every single generation. What sets this apart from all the other ones besides the sheer amount of characters that they've just kind of jumbled into here? What sets it apart?
Well, oddly enough, just because they have all been for different generations, they basically rebuild them from the ground up every time, so they're all on completely different engines, which is not going to be super noticeable for people who aren't really into the, competitive side of it at all. But they all play drastically differently. For example, Brawl on the Wii was kind of their whole design philosophy from the Wii, that they wanted to make it more accessible. They wanted to try to get rid of the super, super high-end, skill gap. And so they added in a random chance to trip anytime you dashed, which was fucking stupid. It was really dumb, and it really hurt the competitive scene for that game. Sort of, until people got used to it and essentially made it so, well, just don't dash then. So the air game became super important for that generation. The big thing here is that they have managed to tune this very tightly. Like, I don't think there's a single character that is not competitive in this game. It is super, super tight as far as who you stand a chance with. They have buffed a lot of the characters who were, just not really competitive. The bruisers, the super heavyweights, are not as slow as they used to be. There's stuff you can do with them, because the biggest issue with them before was that everybody else who was playing against them could just kind of dance around them. Like, you'd whiff an attack, and then you just get punished for it because they were so slow. And they've all been sped up enough that they're competitive now. They're not characters you can combo with well, because they're still just too slow for that. But you can get in a single hit here and there, and it does enough damage that's just kind of their playstyle. And that's been really cool. Like, heavy characters have not really been competitive until this game. I think the biggest other thing than that is that they have added in an input buffer in the way this one is coded, so you can kind of queue up abilities in order to make your combos easier to input. That being said, because you're queuing them, it's also easy to get punished if somebody reads that, because you could have two moves set up and it will execute them. And if somebody dodges, you're stuck for both those animations.
Okay.
Which is an interesting change. It's not even something you're really going to notice unless you're like really into it, because they still come out, the attacks come out really fast. It's not like you're just kind of sitting around there forever, but it's really noticeable if you've been playing the series for a long time. But
how is do you guys have King K. Rool yet?
Yeah, he's fun. He's a
does he make those noises he made in Donkey Kong?
He's fun. He's a trying to think how to describe him. He's got a really well-rounded kit. He's got really good recovery, but like as far as distance you travel, it's good recovery, but he's not well protected during it. Like, a lot of the recovery you use will kind of clear space for you while you're getting back. He doesn't have that. Like, he's still vulnerable during it, but he can clear a lot of ground.
I would love to do like a theme battle where it's like, I'll pick King K. Rool, you pick Donkey Kong, let's go to the jungle and theme it out.
Yeah.
Is Cloud the only Final Fantasy person in there?
Yes, as far playable.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, so you couldn't really do a theme battle with him. Well, so Pokemon people, have you who's the
this is
Incineroar is actually
I think
Incineroar
he's new
to the series.
New for this game one. He is like a heavyweight brawler. Like, he plays like a
like a wrestler?
Yeah, like a Mexican wrestler. Like, a lot of his moves are like that. He even, after a lot of attacks, he will have a part of the animation will be like a taunt flourish or something as part of your, like, essential your lag coming out of an attack, which is hilarious. It's just the theme of it is great. In order to make him feel just that unique.
that bird would have been a good fit for that. That one Mexican wrestling bird that we all liked from
Halucha.
Yeah, Halucha. That would have been a good fit too.
Yeah.
Man.
So why not put Hitmonchan in there and Hitmonlee in there?
I would love to see them in there. I think they've been assist trophies a couple times, but
I'm kind of surprised they haven't made I'm surprised they haven't made a Pokemon themed Super Smash game, because there's so many different Pokemon. They could just make their own Pokemon version.
Well, yeah, Pokken Tournament is the one.
Yeah, but
yeah, that's still kind of
Tekken. That's Tekken Pokemon.
It's very smaller scale 2D fighter.
Right.
Yeah, the big thing in Smash is Pokeballs have been one of the items forever. And so you can this game is very customizable as far as the experience you want to have. Fish and I played a lot without items just to kind of get used to the characters this last time. But one of the ways you can play is with items on, which drastically increases the randomness as far as
what the fuck's gonna happen.
What's gonna happen. And it's kind of I actually enjoy playing with items on a lot, because no matter who you're playing with, the items will drastically change up play styles.
Yeah, like a special or a bat or something. Yeah, but see, that's if you don't want to be hyper competitive, because
but
if you're
there's still
hyper
competitive modes that do that. A lot of the competitive modes, like the high end tournaments, a lot of the time turn that off.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
But there are still a decent number of competitions that have items on, just not, there's enough randomness there that it's not taken super seriously at the high end, but as far as actually, I don't know why is kind of the thing, because there's a lot of competitive card games and stuff like that, and that the whole game about that is learning how to mitigate the randomness. The whole thing is random. You just shuffled this deck, figure out how you can win with the randomness you've been given. And I really enjoy that about Smash, is that there's still skill involved. It's not just oh, well, they got the I win button. Yeah. It's not that. There's still, a lot of the times, an item will come out that's ridiculously strong, and the correct play will be not to pick it up, but to use it as bait in order to kind of pull off, your own unrelated plan. And it adds in a different level of strategy that a lot of fighting games don't have. It's just, a lot of times it can be just dumb fun if you don't want to take it that seriously, and it's good at that too, because of all the randomness. If you don't want to take it seriously, it's still extremely fun. A lot of fighting games suck if you have not put hours into them, because there's just so much to memorize. Whereas in Smash, if you learn one character's moves, you basically know all the moves, as far as inputs are concerned.
How to pull them off.
Them off. They all have different ranges and speeds and stuff like that, and you'll have to learn that. But you're not going to pick somebody up and have to memorize a different 18-key input in order to perform some attack.
As much as I love a lot of games like Soul Calibur and stuff, I've just never been into the whole over A, remember down B. I've never, and in the fury of a fight, I can never pull those off because of my it's just there's a simplicity to it.
The only characters that have those at all in this game are actually Ryu and Ken from Street Fighter, because they came in as DLC last gen.
That makes sense, I guess.
However, they're Ryu and Ken, literally the original Street Fighter matchup. So even if you don't even fucking play Street Fighter, you ought to know that, a down, turn towards the enemy and then punch is going to throw out a Hadouken. It's just, you're...
Hadouken!
Yeah, you get, just kind of by osmosis, you kind of know a lot of those button commands.
Well, it's just like anything that's more, party friendly or whatever. You're gonna have the purists that sort of put up their nose in snobbery at it. So it's just one of those kind of things.
Yeah. That's always been my favorite thing about it, is that it is probably the most deceptively competitive game out there, as far as what sort of strategy you actually can get at the high end. And I think Nintendo has, again, done a great job with that. Because it's a new engine, like always, there are just kind of weird things that the competitive scene is going to have to get used to from this one. Like that command buffer is very different. That is completely new. That is probably going to change up a lot at the top end, but most people probably aren't going to notice it. It's probably, if anything, it's probably going to make the game a little bit easier for the bottom of the bottom. So someone just picking it up is probably going to have an easier time getting into it, which I think is a good thing. It's very different from kind of the way their approach has been the last couple generations. From, like I said, with the Wii one, nerfing the top end, making it so if you're putting a bunch of inputs, you just have a chance to fall over. And then the last game, trying to go back to essentially the most competitive it's ever been, and not really succeeding. But yeah, I think they've done a good job with this one. I think it functions well at both extremes, which is something I haven't really felt in the last couple generations of the game. So I'm happy to keep playing a lot more of it.
Cool. All right. Well, I think we'll catch up a little more on that next week. That was your Smash Brothers Minute with the Smash Brothers, Josh and Fish.
Mm-hmm.
Tag team in to give you the smashing you deserve.
There's always room for more.
I would love to. I just can't. Like, I kind of mad. Well, I'm not mad because I blew my wad on Assassin's Creed and I just haven't had time to get into it. And then I bought Hades, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. Which I'm not mad about. It's just it ended up being like a game you play for one day because it's so fucking.
You
hard.
might want to be mad about it.
It's just so I just well, no, it's fine. I mean, I promised Shea I would play it. But it's just, I blew all my money on that, and it's Christmas time, so I would love to play Smash with you, but the funds are not in my table right now. Maybe I'll just go dig around my house for things to sell. I'll just go on a pawning spree. I'm good at that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, do that.
Anyway, so maybe we'll catch up a little bit more on that next week. And but anyways, I wanted to segue here. We got some more games to talk about, but I wanted to give that a little bit of a highlight because I know it is a game that a lot of people are curious about right now, and may even check out the podcast just to hear you guys' thoughts on Smash. But the topic of the show is, of course, character creation, a fun, light topic. I got some listener comments here. Every Thursday, we do a question of the week on our Sword Chomp Instagram page, and if we grab a couple questions to read on the air. We like to we want to have one of the more listener-driven podcasts out there because our community is just amazing. So, but first, as we kind of go round robin here, like how we approach the character creator. Because I'll tell you this. So I started this as a joke because I was playing Monster Hunter Worlds, which I'll talk about later, and I decided to make a Jessica Negri inspired character creation, which is basically just a generically hot blonde chick. But which is not a slam on Jessica Negri, believe me. But so that was sort of the joke I started. But generally speaking, when I go to a character creator, I try to make a very cool version of myself, but it almost never happens. And it's not just because I'm not cool looking. Not just because I'm not cool looking, although that's part of it. It's just hard for me to like make a good version of myself. So and that always bums me out. And then once that happens, I just make a hot chick usually that looks cool. That's what I did. All my now I will say the one exception was the Mass Effect, where I was able to make at the time a shepherd that I thought looked really like sort of a crazy space version of me. I look back on it kind of embarrassed because he had like a red goatee, and I look back on that and I'm like, what was I thinking? But like at the time, I thought he was really fucking cool, and it really enhanced my experience. He was like a dark space version of myself. With Kingdoms of Amalur, I remember I made like this really beautiful elf chick, and I'd have to, every time I got new gear, I'd have to stop to admire how beautiful she was and maybe run to the bathroom for a little bit. But in generally speaking, I'm a creepa when it comes to making character creators. But I see that, Josh. But I always try to make myself first. I just generally fail. So I kind of wanted to know what you guys do, and there's some really cool comments I have here from the community as well. Shea, I know we were kind of taking a little breather during the Smash talk, but we had that ongoing joke for you with the Jetter Shepherd joke that lasted a good while.
Yeah,
because you took the default Master Shepherd. But
yeah,
what's your approach?
I don't take character creation too seriously. I'm probably the person out of the podcast who takes it the least seriously. I would rather. I don't see a lot of value in spending my time creating a character that I'm not going to see very much. I like it's for me it's like the equivalent of like having skins on a video game. I could care less. It doesn't immerse me to have a character that looks a specific way, unless there's one exception, and that is if I am playing a fantasy game. So like with Oblivion and Skyrim, I of course made a dark elf. I love dark elves. One of my favorite book series, main character is a dark elf. So that's just something I've kind of always been drawn to. So I actually, like, when I play those games, I put a ton of effort into the character creation. But other than that, could care less. Like when we played No Man's Sky, I just made the most outrageous character I could. Same with when Josh and I played Red Dead online a few weeks ago. I just tried to make the most ridiculous character I could. Yeah. I just don't take it seriously.
Yeah, you don't. Yeah.
To be honest with you.
It's funny. Like we let the streamers help you make the No Man's Sky character, which was kind of funny.
That's
clown
true.
Geck.
That's true. That was actually really fun.
But what about? It seems like you're a little. I mean this in a friendly way. It seems like you have a little bias toward the fantasy games you love, because in Oblivion you see yourself a lot less than you would see yourself in Mass Effect. Because in Mass Effect, every time you talk to somebody, there's a big close up of your face as you're talking.
That's true.
Over and over and over again. But in Oblivion, you don't even see yourself.
In Mass Effect, yeah, it does come up a lot. Like, if you have a bad character in Mass Effect, it's going to ruin every cutscene because it shows your own face constantly in there. Like, it's like 95% reaction shot of your own character in that game.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's part of the reason why I actually left Jetter Shepherd, is because I was like, I'm not going to take this seriously. And if I make this shitty character, I know it's going to pop up a ton, and I don't want to do that. So, and honestly, when I was playing the game, it seemed like Jetter Shepherd kind of fit the profile of what I would imagine that character being. Like, the look of Jetter Shepherd kind of fit the profile of the character to me. So I didn't mind playing Jetter Shepherd.
As far if you go like the pure Paragon route, I think default male Jetter Shepherd is fitting enough.
Yeah.
But like with any nuance, he just can't pull it off.
Huh. Yeah. Was that a slight saying I'm not a nuanced kind of guy, Josh? You want to throw down?
No, I wouldn't say that. At least not so bluntly.
Yeah. Well, you weren't saying it bluntly at all. Those were some veiled barbs there, sir.
Nothing like a veiled barb.
Mm-hmm.
Veiled
I don't know. Barb is probably one of my favorite Castlevania games.
I was actually gonna say, there's nothing like a barb being eaten by a demogorgon, but we all went to different directions there.
Yeah, different places. Yeah. I was thinking about
cats having sex.
A 90s grunge band at first. Like that was my first thought, and then I went with Castlevania title instead.
All I can say is that my life is pretty plain. Is that where we're going with this?
Huh. Sure.
All right. Sorry, I lost control of that one. For some reason, I thought of like when I do declare. For some reason, I was thinking of when like cats have sex and they hide their barbed penises and they come out, and how it looks really painful and they latch on. I remember reading about that when I was a kid, and it like scarred me. I was like, oh my god, the cat's like penis latches on to the
scarred
woman
you?
cat.
Just push the cat off the bed. Don't let him get that far. Jesus Christ.
Josh, come on.
This could have went along in the intro with the elephantitis we were talking about. Things that scarred us as children that we watched.
I don't know what you're talking about. There was only Dumbo ears, no elephantitis. That must have been what put the Dumbo ears in Fish's head. Because we were talking about elephantitis. Anyways, so Jet or Shepherd, but Shea's come a long way. He's learning in the ways of. I bet in Cyberpunk, you're gonna take a lot of sweet care in making that character.
I'm sure I will. You guys are telling me because we're gonna play Sea of Thieves tomorrow to build a character, and I'm gonna be honest with you, that was the last thing I wanted to do. I don't know why. I don't like building characters. It just has never been interesting to me in a video game, ever.
This is psychologically fascinating for me. That's like literally like.
I might get into it since it's a pirate, though. That's the thing.
Well, it's weirder in Sea of Thieves because. So basically, they randomly generate several pirates for you. And you have to pick one. And the trick is you pick one and then you keep scrolling and it saves the ones you like. So there are all these pirates sitting in a circle. And basically you just scroll through them for like 20 minutes until you find your favorites. Then you narrow that down. But they're already pre-made. You just sort of pick one that you connect with. So you might like that. I don't know.
That I think I'll like that a little bit more. It's kind of just like rolling the dice and they kind of pre-make it for you. I like that.
Just rolling the dice. Surprisingly addicting, though. I spent a long time doing it. Anyways, Fish, what is your approach when you go to make? Are you always trying to make the perfect Filipino Johnny Depp? What are you doing?
That's exactly what I do. I model the characters after myself. So much so that every once in a while I'll glance in the mirror and like, oh yeah, my nose does come out that far, so I'll adjust the slider just perfectly to where my nose comes out that far, and then I'll check out my jawline. Especially like I think I had the most fun trying to make myself in a game was in the original Mass Effect, because when that game first came out, I think at that time that game probably had the best customization as far as your character face goes.
It was up there.
It was good.
Yeah. So I saw the sliders and what you could do, and I immediately was like, I want to make myself in this game, because it would just immerse me that much more to see an avatar of myself,
like a marine space version of yourself, though, because he was a little hardened, right?
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Mass Effect comes out and you think, what if I had a second muscle? And you made that.
Right. What was the hair? Did they have like the soupy Filipino Johnny Depp hair in Mass Effect, or did you go with something?
I didn't even have soupy hair back then, so.
Were you going with like slick back, spiky kind of a thing? Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And I don't think they had that, so I had to go with like this weird like comb forward and then like spike in the front type of deal for the hair on there. So it was a little weird. Like that's one thing that I was upset about in that character creation in Mass Effect was they didn't have a good amount of different hair types in there.
Yeah, they didn't have a lot of hair. Speaking of which, I can't remember if I've mentioned this or not. However, they rebuilt the character customization engine with all of those games. Yeah, and it was ridiculously frustrating. Because you could transfer your character over from each game, but it didn't do it well at all.
Yeah, they were different.
Like I had to remake my character 3 times, and I was able to essentially make exactly the same character every single time, but their default, we think you're supposed to look like this based off of your save data, was completely fucking wrong every time.
Well, I thought 1 to 2 was okay, but for me, when I brought it from 2 to 3, it actually couldn't. It gave me a message saying it couldn't bring my character over. I was like, "What the fuck? That's the point of these goddamn games." It was like, "No, I'm sorry, we can't make your character anymore." So luckily, I just made a white guy with a red beard, blonde hair. It wasn't anything crazy, right? But like the principle of that was crazy to me. Like, why would you could make it better, but why would you make it to where you couldn't? You know what I mean? That's odd.
Yeah, I don't know what all exactly they changed under the hood, but it seems very strange to me that I was able to essentially make the same thing, but somehow they had no clue how I accomplished it.
Yeah.
Like, you made the character customization every single time. Why do you somehow seem baffled by this?
It's too much work, Josh.
Yeah.
Too much work.
They hyped it up and they probably got lazy. Like, oh, you can bring your character over. We're not really gonna take the time to just. It's there, but let's give him an error message.
That guy left. We have no idea how this was originally built. We'll have to start over. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a little bit of a. Okay, so you make the Filipino Johnny Depp as close as you can.
If not, then I try and go for like an Asianish type of like a samurai badass. Or now this is gonna be weird, but way back in Fallout 3, when I didn't have a beard of any sorts or any facial hair.
Still don't.
I wanted. I do. How dare you? I wanted a beard in Fallout 3, and I gave myself the Abe Lincoln whole neck beard type of thing.
Oh, so you were Asian, but you had a huge beard?
Yeah. So I was like, that's kind of cool. So I was very happy with my character in that game, having a Asian-looking dude going through the wastelands with a beard.
Would you trade having nice hair for a nice beard if you could?
No. No way.
I don't believe you.
What? I just told you no.
Okay.
I cannot tell a lie.
I cannot tell a lie. Josh, what about you? When you're going to make a character, what are you going to do?
I normally kind of have an idea of a character that I want to play as, and then try for that. Kind of like Shea was saying for the whole fantasy thing, but for most games, is generally what I go for. Like I'll have an idea.
Role-playing,
I'm role-playing, but just for any of
them.
Like if I decide I'm going to play a mage this time, I'll make something that looks kind of like that. For example, I despised the male voice actor from Mass Effect. Jennifer Hale is amazing. She's just one of the best in the business. So FemShep was literally the only option unless you are mentally deficient.
That's me.
Yep. So I, kind of went off of what I thought that sort of character was going to be like and made the character that way. Playing, oddly enough, Sea of Thieves is got the worst and also kind of the most interesting character creation out there.
Well, you took off when we were talking about it, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, but with the randomness of it. But with that one, I after going through it for forever, way too long for just let's randomly reroll everything. I wound up with this old kind of aristocrat looking captain that is kind of what I wanted to go with, because I figured I'd probably end up giving a lot more commands in that game just from us playing with each other, just because I've done a lot of read leading and stuff like that. So I kind of wanted a character that was going to be look kind of grumpy, but old looking grumpy guy to bark commands the whole time. So went with that.
I liked our crew. I'm excited to see Shea in there because I think we all had really perfect looking pirates. Fishes looked kind of like an Asian pirate. Mine looked like a convicted felon version of myself. They were all. I was gonna say something else, but I don't even want that joke. Will not play. But it's cool because it's weird. I've never seen a game where they're like, just keep randomizing characters, and you get to pick the ones you like, and then you keep randomizing the rest, and the ones you picked stay on the screen. So after half an hour, you're looking at the 5 you like the best, and you're looking through. It's weird, but effective.
Yeah. I do like that. It's not something intuitive at all, but it gives it a really cool feeling. By the time you finally do decide on one, you kind of feel a connection with them, because it's not something you kind of fiddled with and I guess I'll settle for this. You end up with kind of a connection to it because it feels completely unique, even though it probably isn't. They're gonna start running into the exact same essential components of it, but because of the way it works, it feels really unique to you.
Yeah. It's kind of like whenever your hamster has babies and you get to pick which baby is the best baby, and then you fall in love with that baby. Then you go ahead and separate it from all the other babies, and let it live in its own little paradise cage.
What the fuck are you talking about? What'd you do with the other hamsters? Wait, so your hamster had baby hamsters?
Down the toilet. I'm just kidding.
No.
I know. I don't take you for a hamster flusher. Clearly, he lost the other babies in his asshole. That's what happened.
That's an interesting insult, though.
The others were
you
sacrificed.
hamster flusher. I'm gonna add that to my repertoire.
I can see it in your eyes. You'd flush a hamster without breaking a sweat. Anyways, it's like a slot machine. It's kind of addictive because you're like, what am I going to get now? Cha-ching, bang, bang, bang. Oh, look at this pirate. It's fun. All right, well, let's get to some of these comments here. They're pretty good. I was going to say that it's kind of weird. One of the cool things I liked about Red Dead was that you don't get to create your own character, but you sort of do, because you can like kind of change his appearance throughout the game, his clothing, his hairstyles and such. And they're like in that weird middle ground where like when I first got to the big city part of the game, I made myself kind of clean up. I made myself look nicer at different things depending on what I was doing. So you're sort of like role playing within a set character. There's not a lot of games that do that where you have like a set character and then you can change a lot about them, which is kind of weird. But my fiance, I'll tell you, or my wife. God damn it! I went backwards. My
You're never gonna overcome
what
this.
happened?
Oh, it's like a fucking mental breakdown.
We gave you shit for so long. You're just gonna keep calling your fiance now. Yeah.
She loves character creation. She will sit there and be like, I'll try my best to make a version of you for like an hour. Like sometimes she'll do character creation for like 5 hours in The Sims, and then it's like all she cares about because it's just a lot of fun. So and there's a lot of games I think that if they have things that are not human, like if it's a game that allows, like I really like the character creation in No Man's Sky because you can do weird aliens and stuff like that. And as far as deepness goes, it's only like a 7 out of 10, but you can do a bunch of weird cool shit with it that's kind of interesting instead of just the generic human that most games. Dragon Age had a pretty good one too. I remember making some pretty cool characters in the early Dragon Age games that you got to see a lot. Anyways, here's what we think about some of these comments that were left for us. This was one that a lot of people liked. Headquarters left a comment that said, I make my son Alexander, I only get to see him during the weekends. So when he's not around and I'm playing games, it's like he and I are going on adventures together. Which is way more sentimental than I expected this to get.
Yeah, I like that.
Here I am just creating all these pervy characters, and this guy's actually being a gentleman and creating a very cool story. Although I will say I named my Celeste character Maisie, I think. Or maybe it was just my file. Do you name her, or do you name the file? I don't remember.
You name the file. I'm pretty sure she's always Madeline in the cutscenes.
Well, poop. So that's a good one. Let's see. Gil Beezy Skit said, I generally just try to make something that looks cool, fail miserably, try to salvage that, then give up and start the game. I've only ever tried to make myself in certain cases. I can only manage to get the red hair right. Yes. Well, I often fail miserably as well. That's part of the fun, I guess. Not all of us can be the Filipino Johnny Depp. Kilted Gamer said, I don't make it look like myself or a celebrity, just something that looks cool. Mashing random just makes me hate the character because it usually ends up like a half-melted troll doll or every other character in a Bethesda game. I've never understood the people that just smash random. Just like, I'll just take a random character. Let's go. It's like, okay.
Sometimes I do like the random to just like have a template and then I build off of that. But
yeah, that's true. You start as like a template. Yeah,
because a lot of times you'll do that based off of like the 8 presets or whatever there is, and you'll be like, it's ballpark. Let's go from there. So a lot of times a random is kind of a good starting point. So,
Yeah. I'll just hit random until I get a pale white guy, and then I'm like, okay, I can build with that. Although one of our listeners, JSZ Arto, made this happened a couple weeks ago. He made the Filipino Johnny Depp in Fallout 76, and it was pretty amazing. And then he made this character that looked like him in this game called Fishing Planet, but it sort of looked like Fish if he had gotten on meth and just decided to go fishing. And it's like fucking look real deranged.
Started living in a cabin. Started going real hard on finding them worms out in the woods and going fishing.
Real hard on them worms. That's the fish I know. Let's see here. Spider's Corner said, that does look pretty close to Jessica Negri. Thank you. I generally start off making myself, realize I don't know exactly what I look like from memory, and I end up hoping for the best. That's true. I don't really know how to, I wouldn't be able to describe myself. Like, if in a game, like Fish said he pulls up a mirror, but, I'm just bad at that stuff. And I think a lot of people probably are, because we don't look at ourselves that much in that context, Unless you're Fish, he just stares at himself all day, so.
Right.
Right you are! Okay, Dragon Star just got confused about Jessica Negri's last name, which is not really relevant to this. Pixel Adams said, I never really try to make anyone specific. Just someone that looks cool or good. I seem to always give them Nyscar, and the first and last name, not sure why. The Eye-Scar. How often do we find ourselves drifting toward a nice scar on a character,
Okay.
Nothing? Okay, thanks a lot. Thanks for the input.
I drift a lot towards the scars.
Thank you. It's because of our Final Fantasy VIII upbringing, slashing each other in the fields.
Oh, yeah.
We think scars are cool.
Everybody needs a good scar in a fantasy game.
It's true. And matter of fact, if my JRPG doesn't have a character with a good scar, I'm just not sure how to feel about it. It's a problem with Cloud. Cloud never had a good scar. Am I right? I'll take your silence as a last. Yes.
No, you're wrong.
Thank you. Lynn 9716 said, I like to try to make myself into games because it gives it more of a personal feel and allows me to feel like I'm somehow in the game more. And that I agree with. Like when I made that Mass Effect character I told you guys about, it did feel sort of like a weird version of me was in that game. And that's the goal, I think, in a weird way. Troy Togo said, I just try to make him look like a badass. Can't go wrong there. Oh, Naaman. Oh, come on. My friend Naaman here said, I just randomized my character. I ain't got no time for that customization. Sounds like something Shea would say.
A man of my own heart.
You just not worth, investing a couple minutes to do that. Yeah. You have 87 hours of game to get to very quickly.
Look, here's the thing. If I'm going to play a 40-hour game, there's no way I'm going to waste 20 minutes making a character. That's just way too much time to add to a 40-hour game.
I can't tell. I really can't tell if
That's
that's
definitely
sarcasm.
sarcasm.
I cannot tell.
Yeah.
Okay.
1% is just such a big increase. Like, why would you do that? Why would you? Like, yeah.
Naaman, this will change your life. Just take 5 minutes, make yourself. Your whole world is going to change. Whole world is going to change. Or make fish. Just make fish and just live out that family.
There you go.
If all
Can't
else
go wrong
fails.
with that.
I'll just leave it at that. You're right. You can't go wrong with fish. You'll be the most lovable, adorable character. You may find that your character does really bad with the ladies in game, but that's okay.
That's not true.
Small side effect.
In my game, he was the ladies' man. all the other pimps came up to my character and I was giving them tips on, how to treat a lady and everything.
Yeah.
How much time did you spend at the strip club in Mass Effect?
Oh, I don't know. Must have spent all of my disassembled parts from my weapons and gave them to all the strippers there for them to sell.
Just sat there in those clubs. They did have strip clubs in Mass Effect, didn't they? Like where they'd have like the little...
Yeah.
I think it was called Chora's Den or something like that.
You'd remember.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Chora's Den. Yeah, you're right. Man.
Mm-hmm.
We should make a Mass
No, it was
Effect
memorable
theme
because that
show.
was one of the first times that they, in games, did a real massive push for like a kind of effects based distance sort of a feeling. Because in most of the game, you just get music that's, completely out of the game itself. But when you were outside the club in Mass Effect 1, it sounded really distant. You were hearing the music from the club from down the street. And so it really was fairly unique for the time, as far as just kind of an experience that you would not have gotten in gaming at the time. And then you finally get in there and you hear the music just the same as basically anywhere else in the rest of the game. But it was really unique that they did that.
When you hear the music dimly, like when you're approaching it from the outside, like you're saying, Josh, is sort of like like a moth to the flame for Fish. He just suddenly felt himself starting to be pulled toward
Fish
the
is just
sound.
wandering around, and all of a sudden he hears, and he can't help himself.
And he finds himself drifting.
His way all the way into there. And next thing he knows, he's broke.
just like that.
Without tipping anybody somehow.
I think I get this joke. R.R. Ruckus said, "I'm Tommy Wiseau with my Palico Ojai mark." So I think he made the guy from the movie The Room in Monster Hunter World. I think that's what he's saying. Not familiar with the movie, but I get the joke.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm fine with that, as long as he likes Monster Hunter World.
This guy, Eric.O, said, "Every character I've ever created has been a petite, redheaded girl named Sorsha."
Huh.
I don't know. I don't know what the context is. If he's doing it in a creepy way, then high five, buddy. Man after my own heart. If it's not creepy, then I apologize.
Huh.
No, I'll take the non-creepy side and be like, "Oh, that's interesting. You must have a character that's always going through all these different worlds, but is one reoccurring theme that goes through them all."
That's true.
I like that. I like that.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Like different
make it,
timelines and different worlds. Yeah.
Huh. That's an interesting perspective, Fish. Interesting. Last one, Paradigm Dream said, "I like to look up guides for different characters. There's some good stuff out there. Last time I played Bloodborne, I was David Bowie." So, that's true. That's true. Just go and make something really off the wall. God, Shea made the most horrendous Bloodborne character in the history of Bloodborne characters.
I don't even remember that shit.
You know, the odd thing about that, though, had I thought to do it, David Bowie is essentially who I played as in Bloodborne, so it makes the most sense.
I know, right? It
Should have
doesn't
played as
completely
David
not fit.
Bowie
Labyrinth?
from Labyrinth in Bloodborne. That would have made even more sense.
Mm-hmm.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Fucking rock that codpiece.
Woo! I love it when you talk to me like that. All right, well, thanks for everyone for excellent comments. And honestly, character creation is great. And I think Cyberpunk is going to be the next game that is, I just sit there for hours making something. And we'll see what happens tomorrow with Shea playing Sea of Thieves. Maybe we'll check up on that next week, what he ends up with. Good stuff there, good stuff. Wanted to round out some other games here as I kind of slip in the polls as well. So me and Shea decided, the joke last week, Shea was very excited, some might say, about excited. I'm not going to say it. About Hades, which was a new action game from the. Josh is looking at me and telling me, I don't know what he's saying. He's making me uncomfortable. Hades was the new game from Supergiant. They made Bastion and Transistor, and of course Pyre, and is a game company we have a lot of affinity for. And they basically came out with their first early access game, which was a sort of isometric brawler, sort of like a Diablo kind of style of game, but very intense difficulty. Where basically the simple premise is you are trying to escape Hades, and okay, let me try to explain this better. So the character you play as in this game, Shea, is, what was his name? Do you remember?
Nope. But he is the son of Hades.
I don't remember.
But he's the son of Hades. I remember that.
Yeah, I think it was a unique name.
Yeah, I don't know why.
This game. Like, everything else is just verbatim Greek mythology, but I think he was the only unique name, so I don't remember it either.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Damn,
I can't remember his name off the top of
But
my
yeah,
head.
basically
It has a Z in it and an L.
Yeah.
Yeah. But basically, your dad Hades is sitting on the throne. Cerberus, your dog, is sitting right next to him, and a bunch of other Greek characters, sort of like your house. It's like your pad, it's like your home, and you can kind of talk to them. And then when you're ready to, you venture out to try and escape the underworld. And your dad kind of mocks you. He's like, whatever, boy, you're gonna go get yourself killed, you failure. And there's kind of a nice, dry sense of sarcasm in some of the writing and stuff. But basically, it is a really brutal action game, and Shea was really excited about it. And I know we played it a lot, and he has a lot of opinions. So here you go, Shea.
All right. First thing that struck me, having recently interviewed Greg, was that there wasn't a lot of story in the game as compared to previous games. And that really made it feel, first and foremost, not like a Supergiant game. The story that you actually get from the game, whatever you glean, is like Morgan is kind of alluding to, when you talk with other characters. And it doesn't feel like much of a story. It feels like more you're just kind of getting some background, and the actual story is missing. They're in between, though, like each main segment, like there are these random, like little, I wouldn't quite call them cutscenes, but they're like, they show you this like still picture of like some generic Hades looking underworld thing, and then you get this little bit of talking through there, like it's some narrator kind of giving you a little bit of story, but it doesn't feel enough. It doesn't feel like a Supergiant game. So my theory there is that, like, basically this is an early access because the story hasn't been fully built into the game yet. I feel like they have a lot of the component for the side stuff, like they have a little bit for the flashbacks, but the real motivation of the story of, like, truly why are you trying to escape your father, like what is making you, what is the driving force behind that, isn't there. So I'm reserving my discontent for that, because I'm hoping and I'm believing that it'll be fixed when it comes out of early access. But yeah, that story stuff really, it just was shocking, I guess, because it's so different from the rest of Supergiant's games. They've always had, like, a really in-depth story.
One thing I was thinking is that maybe they put a lot of the detail into, and this might, because I think, I actually disagree. I don't think there's going to be much more story. I think there'll just be, like, new stuff they'll add on to it. But what I think is maybe all the detail went into, what I noticed is that every time you die, there was a lot of changing dialogue, even though very simple and maybe not engaging for a lot of people. It seemed like they were trying something new, which was like, they know you're going to die hundreds of times, so that they just tried to give each character like hundreds of lines of dialogue, so that every time you die, you read something new. So maybe that's just a different approach that they're taking. I agree, though. It is like kind of stark compared to their other stuff.
Definitely. It's, for me, it feels, coming off of Pyre, which just came out, not that long ago, not even 2 years ago. It's just such a drastic difference. And it's kind of cool that they're taking a risk. That's another reason why I'm kind of suspending my criticism to some degree. It's because I think this game is also something very different in their repertoire. Initially, when I was watching the trailer and stuff for it, I thought that it was going to be like another Bastion-like game. And the combat is a little bit the same, but it's very different, and the combat is actually something
I've never really played anything like it. It is ridiculously slow paced.
It is
and also it's not balanced well at all yet.
Not yet.
I'm hoping they fix that. and it's not even a difficulty matter. The game is unplayable until you have a deflect. And you don't get deflect until you get
the shield,
a power up with a deflect, which you'll get one each time you play through the game. But it should be the guaranteed first pickup, because you start the game and you always get some sort of random pickup. That drop should always be your deflect option.
Deflect? I don't even know how to deflect. I don't think I ever got that.
It's like a power up that basically when an enemy fires any kind of attack at you, or like the heads come flying at you, basically as you slash with your weapon, it deflects those attacks back towards them.
Yeah, it deflects all projectiles and it parries all melee attacks. And you will always get one of those in the first several rooms, but it should be the first room. Like, that should be the first pickup every single time, because until you have it, the combat sucks.
Whoa.
Most of the combat revolves around slowly and methodically just kind of picking each enemy apart. And it doesn't really work without the deflect. I
will say that I agree.
It's neat that you get 3 things to choose from, which I like, so you can kind of pick which playstyle you want to go with. But I think you need it right away, because unless you have it right away, your options are not only limited, but they're bad. They're all bad options. Deflect is the only good option. Sadly.
I never even used it.
I will agree with you in that if you don't have certain power-ups, especially deflect, the game is so much more slower paced, and it at times becomes a slog. There are certain enemies in the games, like you have 2 styles, I guess. I don't know how to word that. 2 styles of enemies. You have your normal enemies, and then you have the enemies that kind of have this armor. And there is a pickup, like a power up, that basically allows you to shred through that armor. But if you don't have that, you're constantly just firing things and kind of backing away, or you're deflecting.
Yeah.
And if you don't have deflect, you don't have that armor. Shredding power up, you're basically just hitting and running.
Yeah.
And that to me was not a fun part of the game. However, I will disagree with you in that I do still think the combat is fun when you have the right power-ups. If you get lucky and you get a good group of power-ups, the game is super fun. It's a lot more fast-paced and fluid. Compared to when you don't. I mean, like you put that in a vacuum and you analyze it as you may. But I was having fun when like my weapons were imbued with like lightning power and stuff like that. The game, when I would fire, like, because I ended up using the spear the most, and I would fire my spear, and then it would hit an enemy, and then a lightning ball would go bouncing off of that and hone in on the next enemy. Or like when you have something called your cast, and it's basically like just this magic ball that you fire, and you have a limited amount of uses until you pick it back up. And imbuing that with stuff like you can imbue that with certain abilities where it'll spread out and like hit 3 or 4 enemies and cause damage. That made the game a lot faster, and it made it a lot more fun. And I think part of the imbalance there is what power-ups you get when you get them, which is kind of what Josh was talking about, which kind of circles it back around to what I agree with. If you don't get certain power-ups, the game is considerably harder, and it's considerably less fun. And
I'm fine with the power level varying based off of pickups, but like central mechanics are based off of pickup, and that I think. Like, I'm fine with it changing your playstyle a little bit, but, like, there needs to be some way to deal with whatever kind of comes at you. And a lot of the time, you just don't have the good options. So, like you're saying, you'll just kind of poking back up, and it's boring. It's boring unless you have all the tools.
I feel like
see,
I feel like go ahead.
I didn't feel.
Go ahead.
It's weird that this is one thing that we're going to disagree on, because I think there's a lot of things that we might agree on, but I didn't feel that way at all. I thought the combat was fast as hell. Like for me, I like the shield a lot, but what I would do is I would do a lot of dash abilities. So like I was just like slashing and dashing, and I didn't have any problem. I didn't even know there was a deflect, which is kind of crazy. But like for me, I thought the combat was actually really fast paced and furious, because I never once was like poking people and running off. Like my play style was basically, and with the shield, you can throw it around and it would like bounce off people like,
I do like that
every
weapon
shit's
a lot.
breaking. Like
I love that weapon.
Yeah, that's basically the only viable weapon in the game.
Well, I couldn't really make headway with the other weapons, but in general, I thought the dash felt good. It was like when you play an action game where you're like,
is it?
Pew 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 pew.
It's
well,
not good until you get the second, like you get the first upgrade, so you can dash twice, because it is not faster than just walking away.
Yeah, I have the dash twice. I have the dash twice, but I'm just saying in general.
Whenever you dash, you are literally locked. Permanently locked. You are stuck in one spot until the exact amount of time it would take you to walk to the spot you dashed to. So it is not good until you get the second dash, so you can chain it twice and actually move somewhere a little faster.
I don't know. I guess we'll agree to disagree on that, but I will say this.
There's nothing to disagree about. That's how it works.
I dashed around and I did not have any problems. That's what I'm telling you. Like, I didn't feel like the pacing was hurt by it. I'm not saying you're invalid. That's how you felt. You didn't like it. I'm just saying that for me, I would like attack.
I'm not explaining whether I liked it or not. I'm explaining how the mechanic works.
Kind of are. I'm telling you that I would attack something and then dash to another thing and dash to another thing, and basically I was ping-ponging off them like a pinball while I was tearing their guts out. That was my style. So it didn't feel slow to me.
Mm-hmm.
You were beating those guts in style?
What was that fish or the
outfit
last...
is the most important thing.
He's not the last airbender. He's the what fish?
I'm the last gut bender.
All right, we had to get it in.
You had to fit that off the air joke.
Chosen through time. No, but I will say the one thing I do agree with is that the power-ups make it substantially like there was times where I felt like unless I got the right power-up, it was just like it was just kind of a useless run.
It was almost impossible.
And it was
almost impossible, like in certain areas, like when you have to survive for 44 seconds. If you don't have the right power-ups, you're not going to survive that. I remember there's one where like you have these like floating crystals and they fire laser beams at you. And I got warped into this.
I hate those enemies.
They fucking suck.
Because
they're not.
They're weird because you can dash away from them because they slowly move, but you can't interact with the attack in any way. You can't parry it. You can't really.
Right.
Like, if it's aiming at you, it hits you. It doesn't do a lot of damage, but it will hit you. And they're fine on their own. Like, it's a cool enemy design with one or two of them, but in those specific rooms you're talking about, there's a set spawn rate, and if at any point they start to pile up on you, you'll dash away from one of them, and another one will be hitting you. And at that point, you're stuck there just taking the damage.
Well, that's exactly what I was going to say. I get warped in this room. It's not just a mass amount of these guys. They're also the armored ones. So, like, even with the...
You can't interrupt the attacks.
Even with the ability, like, for armor shredding, whatever you want to call it, like you just said, you cannot interrupt their attacks. There are at least 10 of them. You know, and like it's like no matter where you go on the map, they're gonna fucking hit you, and it's not gonna just be one hitting you. It's gonna be a bunch hitting you. So like unless you have the right power ups, you just feel completely overwhelmed and overpowered. And for the most part, I didn't feel that overpowering. Like there were certain times in the game where I'm like, man, this shit's fucking hard and it feels a little cheap. But then I learned and I got the hang of it, and then I realized that was just me needing to get over that learning curve. For example, there's a mini boss in the game.
Yeah.
We have to fight two
curve.
goblins who kind of warp and blow themselves up. Like those guys felt cheap at first, but then you figure out how to beat them and it's not so bad. But Like there are other,
you hug them.
They're pretty
you stay right up on their dick.
They are.
Like, yeah, like I don't think I've taken damage from them after like the first 2 runs.
No, once I figured it out, they're easy.
Yeah.
But the situations we're talking about, it just feels like there is a lack of, I don't know if you want to say parity, like a lack of balance with some of these areas.
Yeah.
Well, but the bigger issue is, like Shea was saying, after he beat the first fucking boss, which took him like hours of hell, then he fucking died and had to do it all over again. There's no fucking reprieve. There's no...
Well, that's how those games work. You eventually learn how to do it, and it's not a problem at all to get through there. The major issue, it's not balanced well. Like I said, the shield is basically the only viable option. The bow has less range than just throwing the fucking shield.
Yeah.
And the shield will bounce around and hit a bunch of things for the same amount of damage as if you take the bow and you're locked into charging up a shot and doing the same amount of damage as just kind of quickly tossing your shield at somebody. Like, it's
funny because you start...
There are major issues with the balancing that just need to be fixed in order to make the weapons feel good.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's a lot of things.
Yeah, I agree. I just use the shield.
I guess I wish that the game would have warned me that, like, basically there's going to be no type of checkpoint system, because that does harken back to a lot of old school video games. Like, I remember playing Ghouls and Ghosts. That was one of those games where, like, if you don't survive, you have to start all over again. It was frustrating, but that was a part of the game. That's what you knew. And with this game, there's no indication that, like, it was gonna, like, have a no checkpoint system. So I finally beat the first boss, like the first main boss, after, you know, trying a few times and dying a few times. I finally figured out the pattern, what I needed to do. Because that battle is hectic as hell. Finally beat her. I beat her on 1 health. 1 health. And I had taken the power of, like, if I die, like if I take lethal damage, I regenerate 20 health. I had taken 2 of those, so I'd use both of those up. And so I get to the next area, which allows you to buy some stuff to regenerate some health. And then I go out into the next area, and I just got fucking smoked. It wasn't like I had a chance at all. I go into the next area and just got fucking decimated. And I was like, okay, that's fine. I'll just warp back to this area. And then I go out of Hades, and then I'm back at the very beginning again. And it isn't like weirdly enough Into the Breach, where you get to take a little bit of something with you, which is another fairly difficult game that came out this year, even though they're completely different. Well, they're not completely different genres. They're somewhat different genres, but you take nothing with you other than like this purple power up that you get, like your gold.
Well, keys and stuff. You can take keys and bags
but like
and stuff.
that's nothing. Like, why don't you get to choose like one power up you get to keep with you? That would at least add some balance, and it would make it feel like less of a grind to get all the way back to where you were just at.
I'll tell you why, Shea, and I figured this out. And this is a theory that I have, and it's actually kind of unfortunate that I feel this way about this game. So they have a little timer on the front screen that tells you when the next major update's going to be. It's like count down the 30-something days or whatever. And the reason that they're set up like this is because they don't want people to run through the game in a day.
Yeah.
Which is what you do. It's artificially stuffed to just be an impossible grind because there's no content.
Part of me wonders that too. There's 27 rooms in this game from start to finish. Which for like a roguelike, that's a lot. Like if you had 27 levels in something like Dead Cells, that'd be a ton because there's only like 8. But those are essentially worlds. We're talking screens. Like this is a fight. And it's tough to get 10. It is tough to get 10. Like the first boss is what, like 15 in or something?
16 or something, yeah.
So yeah, it's between the combat being slowly paced and the progression through the game as a whole feeling ridiculously slow paced, it doesn't feel like you accomplish anything in this game.
No.
like a lot of roguelikes, you'll make it, 30, 40 floors, something like that, and then get screwed or something like that. Or a lot of them will be broken up into, like we mentioned Dead Cells before, there aren't a lot of levels there, but they're essentially Castlevania size, like essentially what would be a zone in a Castlevania game is each thing. It's not like a screen. It's not, but in this one, it's like an encounter.
One screen.
An encounter is one of those things, and from start to finish, you'll only get 27 of them.
And that's supposed to last you a month until the next update. So it's like, Yeah, that's why, I mean, think about it, like, it just feels artificially... I wish they would have just said this was a GoFundMe account for their next game, because that's what it feels like. It feels like a GoFundMe for their next game.
I hate to say that. This is the only game of theirs that I've not liked. Like, period. Like, full stop. This is the first game I've ever skipped dialogue in. Because I'll get to the end, and they essentially say the same thing every time.
They do, yeah.
And, like, I've never skipped dialogue in one of their games before.
I know.
It's weird. Like, the fact that I've had to skip dialogue in one of their games that's weirder than anything else as far as mechanics goes.
Yeah. I'm worried that this game could break them as a studio. It's so fucked,
Well, then
I think that's hyperbole there. I don't think that's gonna happen.
It's not gonna break them. No. They're still, all their old games still sell fairly well. But the biggest thing with this one is it is the first game that is based on an existing property. Like, it's Greek mythology. Like, everything else has been completely unique. It's had tons of time and effort put into it. It feels great. Like, just seeing the worlds they're able to create is awesome. Like, they've had such amazing stories and worlds to go visit. And in this one, the main character's cool. The voice actor is really good. It's a pretty good take on a few of the characters there. But it's still Greek mythology, and like, okay, like, once you have the first line of dialogue from each of them, okay, so that's their take on Zeus. You get it. Like, you instantly get it, and then it makes everything else afterwards skippable.
I kind of felt that way.
It's just like the only kind of...
Yeah.
The only kind of people I could see really wanting to progress in this game are, you'd have to be obsessed with it, and I just don't see what you get obsessed with. Like, there's no, like, the thing I liked about Bloodborne was, like, it was tough, but I wanted to see what monster was next. I wanted to see what world was next. All the levels in this game just look like
super, super tight in that game too. Like, it was another, like, it feels like Souls in the pacing of it. It's really slow paced. It's really methodical. Like, you can't just kind of screw around and slash at something until it dies. Like, you have to think through everything you're doing. But it's just not tightly balanced enough for that to feel rewarding in this game yet.
But
if it gets there, I think it could be really good.
I guess what I'm saying is, like, why? Like, why would you want to progress? There's no, like, yes, you could sit there and fight that boss for an hour and get to the next room and spend hours getting past that room or whatever. But why? Like, why? At least with Bloodborne, I can say, I want to see the world. I want to see the next creature. I want to see where the story's going to go. With this game, you don't care about the story or the characters. The world itself is just a bunch of square rooms with spikes coming out of the ground. So far, obviously. So the why is hard. The why is where I'm stuck at.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I think, like, I want to give them the benefit of the doubt because they've made 3 great games so far. No one's infallible. Things happen. And here's the thing. There are positives about this game. Gen Z does a phenomenal job with the artwork. The artwork is still the highest of caliber, like, period. Like, no matter what happens in any of their games, the artwork is always incredible. And that's thanks to Gen Z. She always does a great job. So that's honestly the first thing that drew me into the game was the artwork. It's always that. The soundtrack is awesome as well. It sounds like if you were to mix a little bit of metal with some of the Bastion soundtrack and they put some other random elements in there to make it feel its own. And so, like we've said, some of the power-ups are really, really fun and add a welcome layer to the combat. But I don't regret buying the game because I love the studio and I love the people who work at Supergiant. They've always made great games, or they have for their past 3. Right now, I think, having played this early access game, for me, I think I'm going to wait for a little while and wait until they have a few more updates drop rather than just one, and see where it goes. They already have my money. I already own the game. There's no rush to play the next iteration. But I'm hoping that there will be a little bit more story added, that the balance will be taken care of to some degree. And like we've been alluding to all along, giving us a reason, even if it's like a silly one, just giving us a reason to want to go through this world. I like Greek mythology. I'm not obsessed with it, but it's not enough of a driving force for me to see or to want to take the plunge further into the game as of right now, I guess, would be the best way I can word that.
Don't you feel like this is kind of burnt? Because this has now burned me from ever wanting to do early access ever again. Because I'm terrified. Because I feel like we're so scarred with what this game, like, it left such a bad taste in our mouth that it's just like, man, we don't even know completely what's going to add or change.
I don't think so,
like,
because
God,
if I can see your point, but we also played another I did play another early access game this year. No, we did. Flamberge. And that was such a, surprisingly fun game for me. I did not expect to like it near as much as I did. And, of course, that game has its own flaws, too. It's an early access. It's a very different style of game, but I like that game a hell of a lot more than I thought it would. And it's still in early access. It's in a pre-alpha phase right now.
You got it for free. You got it for free, though. Would you buy another early access?
I would have. I would have bought Flamberge, to be honest with you, to play that game. That game was that much fun to me. I guess it's less dependent on whether it's early access, and it depends on the track record and the studio that's making it. That's why
But they have an excellent track record. But
they've not made an early access game before.
Right.
They've not released one like that before.
Right.
They've always had very tight narrative experiences, which was what I initially said before I'd played any of it. How is this going to work in early access at all? And this is not really that. It's much more mechanics focused. So, okay, give them time to balance everything. There's a lot of randomness going on. You kind of need more people just to see all the random outcomes in order to figure out how to balance it. All right, that makes sense. It makes sense as far as why this one would be the early access title, but it's not there yet. It is not there yet, and
it feels like a business.
I'm curious to see what it looks like if and when he does get there, but
kind of feels like a business decision, because I bet that Epic gave them a cut of deal with Epic, because it got us all to run to their launcher and download this damn Epic launcher. I'm never going to play fucking Fortnite on it, so
right.
It's and it's exclusive to that for a year, so it's probably some business stuff involved there, and why they launched it this early.
That makes sense. We look at I don't mean to be too off the rails here, but we looked at I talked about it on the side pod Evoking the Sublime, but when Super Meat Boy was supposed to drop, Team Meat was supposed to have more months with that game, and then Xbox Arcade approached them and was like, hey, we want to do this this basically the summer program. We want the summer of arcade. We want you guys to be on it. And then that didn't quite work out, but then they wanted them on this I think it was called this Family Feast thing, where it dropped in November, and they still Team Meat had to rush to get this game done. They got it done, and then Xbox there's that whole debacle where it couldn't even be found, but Xbox had a huge role to play into when that game got released, because they said we want it for this promotion. A lot of eyes are going to see it. And I kind of feel like what you're saying kind of falls in line with that is, Epic Games had this store they wanted to drop, and they said if we get a big name developer in here, then it's gonna give more people to download. And as of right now, the next, surprisingly, it was supposed to release this year. The next Super Meat Boy Forever hasn't dropped yet. So like, really, what was the draw for getting this Epic Games store other than Fortnite and these other games that have mostly been released on other platforms? Well, we throw in Supergiant's new game that they're working on, slap an early access on it, and hopefully people will understand. And that's why, for me, I can't agree that like it's totally assuaged me from ever buying a game in early access again. But I'm definitely I will say this, I'm definitely gonna be a little bit more guarded with what I spend my money on when it's in early access, and I'm gonna do a little bit more research, even if it's a studio I love, because I'm not completely turned off by Supergiant. I think this game has the potential to turn out a lot better than where it's at right now. So I want to give it 6 months, see where it ends up, and move on from there one way or the other. So
yeah, I think there's a decent game in there if they eventually get it balanced correctly. Like, a lot of the elements are there. It's just, as a whole, it doesn't really work. So
okay, that's the final word. As a whole, it doesn't really work. So yeah, if you're thinking about getting it and you're out there right now, just hold on to your money for a while. I think we'd all agree with that. We'll see where it goes. But it was definitely we had an interesting conversation about it. So I guess not all is for naught. A couple other things I'm going to slide the polls into here as well. Fish, you'd be excited to know that I played Monster Hunter all week this week. Woo-hoo! Doggy!
Hey!
Hey! Yeah, that's a fun game, am I right? That's a game right there.
Game of all games.
Unfortunately, it did lose to Red Dead in an obliteration in our game of the year polls.
No.
Although it's funny because Fish voted on that poll, but didn't vote on any other ones that I saw. So he only took the time to vote on that one poll.
Interesting.
Weird.
You're a liar.
I might have voted on it, but I wasn't going to give Red Dead any more of my time.
85% of our audience said that, unfortunately for Josh, Monster Hunter is now. That was an obliteration I did not expect. But I expected it to win, but I didn't expect that to happen. I mean, I figured it'd be more. God of War beat Spider-Man 71 to 30%. Not surprising. I put it up against Spider-Man in the first round because I just wanted to get that shit out of there as quickly as possible. Let's see. Into the Breach sadly got obliterated by Celeste 76 to 24. And what a pure beatdown that was.
That sounds about right, though, just given the two genres. Like, as amazing as Into the Breach is, it's still a tactics game, and that is always going to be a hard sell for a lot of people. So
nobody played it.
As much as we've loved it, like I completely get it. Like, that is not everybody's thing. So
well, that's why I wanted to put the two indie games up against each other, or the two smaller games, because there'd be just to see. But yeah, it was an obliteration.
Yeah.
So, and Josh will be happy to hear that in the wild card round, Far Cry 5 crushed Sea of Thieves 81% to 19%.
Yeah.
Which
well,
I
that's
don't
only
even
because you only let one person vote by themselves in that poll. You really.
No,
unless you have some sort of
true.
party voting, there's no way Sea of Thieves had a chance there.
Well, people just hate Sea of Thieves, Josh. I still don't get it to this day because I love it, but I'm telling you, man, people hate that fucking game. It's real weird. Or if they're out there, they're quietly hiding in the cracks of this world.
Well, no, they heard some sort of Reddit post, and so they jumped on the hate train because it's the next No Man's Sky. We see right through your lies, Rare.
That means I'm down to love it if it's the next No Man's Sky.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and it's just, we'll see. I want to see if we have great experiences this weekend because I always tell people that I got together with my friends and we had nothing but like hilarious, amazing moments. So I don't know what to tell you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what to tell you.
Maybe make a friend. Huh? It's lesson of the story this week. Make a friend.
It's not just frustrating. I listen to these podcasts and like I was listening to the Bombcast and Jeff Gerstmann was just like, I played Sea of Thieves for a long time. Nothing cool happened to me. I'm like, I mean, maybe they were just very unlucky. I guess I don't know. I mean, I'm not here to invalidate other people's opinions, but it's just
That's
like the
because
first day I played that
WWE
game.
wrestlers weren't flying off the boats.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's now that's a game right there. Sea of Smackdown. Nothing. Okay.
Sea of Raw.
I can.
Bunch of raw dogs on my boat.
Sea of Raw Dogs. Yeah. Sea of Steroids. All right. So the first round is in the books. God of War will progress. Red Dead will progress. Far Cry will progress. And Celeste will progress. And I'm sure we'll probably end up with what we think we're going to end up with. But it's fun to see what happens anyway. The only other... I want to say this before I get to the closing show poll. Fish, I was going to tell you that Monster Hunter, I have been playing it this week. And that game looks great on an Xbox One X, let me tell you. It actually gives you three options, which is a little confusing. Frame rate, resolution, or graphics. So, of course, I took your advice and went with graphics because that's the way to go. But I tried them all. So I tried them all, and I couldn't really notice, like, a big enough difference. Like, resolution and graphics look great. So they looked, but... If the game tells me that it's going to make... I don't like the choice. Like, Red Dead's not like, do you want to do this? Do you want to do that? It's just you play it, you know?
Yeah.
They're giving me too many
slow
options.
Enough paced that there's no reason they'd ever prioritize frame rate in that game. Like, it just does nothing for it.
That's true. That's probably true, actually. But yeah, so I will say, Fish, one of the reasons I went back to play Monster Hunter was because, one, I love you, and I wanted to acknowledge a game that you care about. I've been doing that for the crew.
Aww.
And secondly, I had a scarring experience with Monster Hunter because I went back and listened to our first podcast where Josh famously said, me and Fish were enjoying it, and Josh was like, I'm not playing this shit because I've already played it before.
Essentially.
But I had a question for you, Fish.
He said that?
Well, he was basically just saying it's another Monster Hunter game, but I don't think he meant it in that critical of a way. He just wasn't as interested in sticking with it.
No, I enjoyed what I played of it. It's just that what I'd played of it is something I'd already played of it, 8 other games. So,
yeah. Now, there's my question I have for you, Fish, because this is important. A lot of people are saying there's good improvements that they've made in Monster Hunter to make it more, that explain why it's become so popular now. Like, they've made a lot of adjustments or improvements to grab a larger audience, especially in America. So I'm wondering, for you, the big Monster Hunter fan here, what was the biggest thing that you hated about the series that they were able to change in this one?
I've never played the other Monster Hunters. This is my first Monster Hunter that I've actually gotten into.
That's my exact problem with a lot of the talk around this game is that a lot of the improvements are minor. I wasn't trying to set you up to be an asshole, Fish.
Thanks.
It's not that direct. It's actually a fantastic game. I'm having fun. I'm gonna probably keep playing the fuck out of it. Because the best thing about the game is just the look of the monsters is they're fucking awesome looking, so you're always like, you want to see the next creature that you're gonna have to come up and fight. You know what I mean? The art direction in that game is top tier, I would say. And it looks fantastic. But like, the weird thing is, I don't want to get into a lot of criticisms here. I'll save them for Game of the Year. But it has definitely been climbing my top 10 list because I'm having so much fun with it. I found one of the biggest things I didn't like that I told you guys is that when you get like an up-close weapon, I didn't like how clunky the combat felt because you kind of get up and I felt like I'm just like hacking at a fucking Jagra cock for 20 minutes and it's just, it's not fun. But I stacked out of my box and I tried the light bow gun. I don't know why it looks like a bow, but it seems to just shoot bullets. So I don't really know why they call it that. At no point have I seen a bow, unless it's actually shooting arrows and they don't look like, because they're actually called bullets. It feels like a gun. It makes a gun sound, boop, 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 but it's called a light bow gun. And it looks like a bow, but there's no arrow. There's no option to shoot an arrow anywhere. So I don't know. Do you know, Fish, what the deal is with that thing?
No.
Oh, okay.
I don't.
And thank you for your expertise. Appreciate it. 200
I
hours
mean,
of Monster Hunter.
there is a bow in the game though for a weapon. That's a different weapon.
Okay. Anyways,
I don't know why they call that the light bow gun.
yeah, it's weird, right?
There's another one though as well. There's like a
heavy, yeah.
Yeah.
But the light, it's fun, dude. You basically, so I like to stay at a distance, and that's how I'm having the most fun with the game, because you get these giant monsters that are like rolling at you and dashing at you, and I just keep like 20 or 30 yards between them, and I roll and slide around and just shoot them. And it's actually been pretty easy. Also, I'm playing with just myself, and when I was playing with fish, it was probably doubling their HP, so it just seemed like it took a lot longer to kill everything, and it was kind of a fucking grind. But it seems lessened when you play by yourself, because it's just accounting for one party member. And I actually have been flying through it. Like, the game has actually been pretty fucking easy with the gun. I just sit back there and shoot the fuck out of everything. So that's pretty much it. But you know, I'll get into the niche stuff maybe for game of the year. But it's a really great game. I get it. I totally get why Fish fell in love with it. I still think that there's a lot of bullshit surrounding it. Like, it's not actually a world. It's like a bunch of tiny little caged in set pieces. It would be cool if it was actually a world that you could just walk from place. You know what I mean? Like a real, like we live in a world, an age of like the best open world games ever created. This game is not like that. You jump around on like a mini map to location, that they're all different and they look cool, but they don't feel connected. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, the different areas that you go to definitely have their own theme to them and don't really connect to the previous or the next theme.
Yes.
Other than there's one part where the story kind of connects one area to like the ecosystem in the game, but the story in that game is not something where it really shines. But it's pretty bad. But maybe in Monster Hunter Worlds 2 or something like that.
It's very
apparently
we're
not
waiting for Monster
for
Hunter, actually a world. It's gonna be
that's the new title.
They'll finally
Monster
make that
Hunter,
a tagline.
Really.
Yes.
It's just when you play this game, I'm telling you, man, it just feels very Japanese. It feels like just cut from the mold of every other game like this, except the fact that it's really, really, really pretty. And if you've never played one of these games before, like Fish, then you're probably gonna have a lot of fun with it. Who knows? I mean, Fish, honestly, I don't want to stereotype you, but you are the Asian of the podcast, and you are now liking the Monster Hunter game, which is a huge phenomenon in Japan. Now, if you think about that, why do you think Monster Hunter was always really big in Japan but never caught on in America? Do you have a theory?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I don't have a theory, but
do you have a theory, Josh?
One time
thanks
zone.
for stereotyping me.
One time zone. I don't want to stereotype, but I think there's something to it. Things catch on in different cultures for a reason.
Yeah, but I mean, a lot of co-op stuff catches on there better, and I think a lot of it is just kind of it's easier to get a small community there and really doing something together really well. Like Splatoon has been a success pretty much everywhere, but especially in Japan. Like it has just been a huge success in Japan.
Yeah.
And I think that has a lot to do with it. Like you're in order to get a community together, like they need to be on playing the game together at the same time. And even just doing that in the States is a pain in the ass. Like trying to get us to play a game together is a thing.
But
it's
a lot of people,
thing here.
But multiplayer games are huge here, so I don't think that... Well, and now Monster Hunter is a lot more popular because, you know, the Destiny crowd, which is the weird thing, right? Like when you play this game, you're just like, man, Destiny really nailed this whole multiplayer thing down. I don't know why Capcom couldn't have looked at that and just tried to translate a lot of those basic, like, menus. Like, even the menus in this game feel like really, really old. And I'm not going to nitpick the damn thing because I don't care to. I believe in macro criticisms. It's just fascinating how old it feels. But having said that, it's a lot of fun. Like the world itself is so imaginative. Like you can just come across weird little monsters. Like I came across these two weird like little like mud looking things swimming in this little like water area, and I jumped down in there. My little cat Palico was like floating around on his little cute little raft thingy, and then those little creatures start attacking me. Like there's a lot of imagination and detail put into the creatures of the game. It's about if the monsters didn't look cool, you got nothing, you know?
Yeah. So much of the effort is directly put into the monsters in this game. Like all the animations in them, all the attack patterns, like that is where the effort is in this game. Like that it lives or dies by the monsters, and they're good in this game. They're solid.
Yeah, they're huge, they're gorgeous. It's got the hooks that most games have, like you'll go upgrade your party, you have like a hub world. Those things are not new, but they add a little more of the addiction for, especially for people like Fish, I'm sure. When you just get done taking out a big monster, you go forge a couple new pieces of gear to look like maybe the monster you just killed. You're hanging out in the hub world, you're looking at yourself, picking up some bounties. They got that progression that kind of gets people hooked,
Yeah, definitely. And the gameplay as well in that game I thought was very satisfying, and there's a learning curve to each weapon that you use, so eventually you'll start to learn all the different moves that you can pull off, and which moves are pretty good to use against certain monsters and stuff like that. I really like the progression in that game, and like the learning curves that you have to overcome to really shine as a monster hunter in that game. So that's why I put 200 hours into that game. I think I used the bow for the majority of those hours to actually beat the game, and I thought the game was pretty fun using a range class, but then I wanted to switch it up and use the daggers, and the daggers, like they're a whole different world when you have to be like right on the monster, so you're checking the monster attacks, all its different weak spots. Like it just feels like a almost different type of game at that point, when you can just switch up the weapons that you use at that point. I mean, the monster's attack patterns, but then you have to learn your positioning and all that. Like, it's a very technical game. Like, at higher level play of that game, like it gets real difficult and real fun as well. And I love that challenge in that game.
High level play does seem pretty, like it gets pretty crazy, I imagine.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
What would you say, Fish? Is there anything you could make a case for this game, Fish, that you would say it does for the industry as a whole? Like, if you were to say, like, maybe the cinematics in God of War kind of push the industry, the envelope in a way, because it's like that one constant camera angle, or the technical achievement, or of something like Red Dead. Like, what is it in the Monster Hunter do you think that pushes the envelope of the industry in a way? Anyway, is there anything?
Just a very advanced amount, or just a vast amount of systems in place that all work and synergize with each other as long as you understand them, because it is very daunting to look at those menus in that game and think, what the fuck am I looking at? What does this do? Oh, what am I supposed to do with this piece of gear? There's so many different abilities in that game, but once you get that down, once you get past learning like what certain abilities on the pieces of armors that you're wearing and what they can do to help you in battle, like once you get past that learning curve, like that's when it gets really rewarding as far as customization in your character. And I think that
how long would you say that takes? How to get to that point? What would you say?
It depends on the player, really. Like if they really shine as far as like having poise in combat against these monsters.
God damn, the way you talk about this shit just fucking wild, man. If you have poise in combat, if you really shine, good God.
It's wild. Like, I've seen videos of people like taking out like high level monsters in this game under like 2 minutes, and like they really have to be on the ball as far as like using their abilities and everything. I mean, these are like encounters that usually take me about 15 minutes to do, and these people can knock them out within 2 minutes. So like, I'm in awe of like how quickly they could pull off all this different stuff as far as with their characters and different weapons and stuff like that. But I would just say probably it shines as far as like synergy, but
Synergy. That is the most politically walked around bullshit answer. And I got to give you credit, man. I was trying to trap you there, and you gave me synergy. What is Monster Hunter doing?
Synergy.
What is Monster Hunter doing to push
upward
gaming as a whole?
mobility, interconnectedness, networking. The fuck is happening here?
God, that's fucking incredible. But, I still have a love in my heart for distinctly Japanese games too, a little bit, because I grew up playing them. So it is a lot of fun. It really is. And like I said, it looks great on the Xbox One. It really does. Like last night, the Anjanath, or what is it called? The Anjanath? It's like a T-Rex with dragon wings. It fucking like just roared at me, and it just looks so... The best way to explain what the Xbox One X looks like to people who don't have a half system is that it reminds me of the first time I watched a high-definition DVD. That's what it reminds me of. When I play games now, it actually looks different. It reminds me of the first time I watched a high-definition video. It's the best way to explain it. I don't know why that is, and I'm not a technical, I don't get deep into the technical side of things. I'm just telling you that's the way it looks. So, and I have a smaller TV, which Josh said is better for resolution, because if I had a larger TV that was not 4K, I wouldn't really be appreciating the quality of the picture. Isn't that right, Josh?
Well, in the room you were using it at, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. So it looks great. It's a lot of fun, Fish. I'm gonna keep playing it. I will say this: it has climbed into my top 10 games of the year, Fish. I'll give you that, just because that part of my brain that really likes to look at weird, imaginative. It's sort of like when you'd see a monster in like Final Fantasy, and you're like, man, that thing just looks fucking wild. That thing looks really cool. Like someone took so much time to design all the little textures and weird strands and bubble sacks and teeth. Like that stuff that's always been really. It gets my brain clit throbbing. So there's some good brain clit throbbage here, I would say.
Okay.
All right. Last poll of the show. We'll close the show on this. By the way, if you enjoy what we do and you want to support us, we're trying to get to $200 on Patreon so we can hit our next big goal. If you go to patreon.com/swordchomp, you can support us. We have some new supporters actually this week, so thank you. Those who came aboard, like Border Jumper Mel. But basically, if you look for a $5 tier, you get access to a top secret Instagram page. And I'm going to highlight this a little bit. But this week alone, I can tell you that we got up a bunch of cool stuff. Not just Josh's amazing meal he made right before the podcast. Rare photos from the vacation. Rare videos from when you guys were up here and we podcast. Inside jokes. All sorts of cool stuff that are just for our VIPs. It's like a cool little community there. And you support us in the process. So that would be awesome. But to end the show, the last poll was basically, did Outer Worlds kick Bethesda right in the groin? Sorry, let me rephrase that. Does that Outer Worlds game, the new trailer, kick Bethesda right in the groin? And it came back like 87% said yes. Right to the groin. They're getting it. So I know we talked about that a little bit last week. Right to the heart. That's your thinking muscle right there. So yeah, it sucks. Bethesda's. I don't really like to bag on Bethesda at this point, but it's a shame. It's a shame what has happened this year, and I'm sure they're just excited for this year to be over. Next year can start. So have that Bethesda conference at E3. God, wouldn't that be crazy if Bethesda was like, oh, we also don't want to do E3 now because we just had such a bad year, and then they pull out, and then Microsoft is just like, well, fuck. I guess we should pull. I don't know. Bethesda's in a weird spot, so we'll see what happens. But yeah, so Game of the Year is going to be running more next week. And the polls are going to get tighter and tighter until our Game of the Year podcast, in which we can vote for the winners. Mm-hmm. So next, also, you don't want to miss. Next week, Fish is going to be doing intros for the podcast. It is very special when Fish does that. Once a year, Fish chimes in to deliver the intros at the beginning of the show. So you don't want to miss it. Let's see, anything else? Other than that, everything's been going good. I don't see anything else on the notes that we hit all the major points I wanted to. And next week is going to be like our backwash show. Everything that we want to just backwash into the, everything from the whole year has become backwash. And we're just going to swallow it. Yummy. Metaphorically speaking, because that's really one of our last shows to talk about games. And then Game of the Year is going to be here. And that is going to be the most epic debates of all debates as we grow and grow. It's our third Game of the Year. It's crazy to think we'll be on our third Game of the Year show, guys. So...
Doesn't seem like that long.
Pretty cool, yeah. It really doesn't. I'm sure Fish was just like, God, it feels like forever. What are you talking about? All right.
I don't remember before this episode started.
All right, well, I think we're winding down. Everyone's getting a little quiet on me, and that's usually the sign to wrap this bitch up. It's been a fun one. Side podcasts. I have one called In the Blood, where I interview composers. Check it out. Evoking the Sublime, podcast where Shea interviews developers, like Supergiant, which we talked about today. Check it out. And, of course, our Patreon page. We will be back next week with an all-new Chompcast. Thanks for checking out the show, and we will see you next week.